My wife threw me out for asking her brother to pay rent, so I let her live without my money. Hi, I'm Daniel, 34, and the day my wife threw my clothes on the floor and told me to get out was the day she accidentally fired the man holding her entire life together. It was a regular workday. Long, boring, predictable. I remember thinking, on the drive home, that I just wanted a shower, some leftovers, and half an hour on the couch before answering more emails. Nothing heroic, nothing dramatic. I opened the door and stepped into someone else's life. Every piece of clothing I'd neatly left in the wardrobe that morning was now piled in a pathetic mountain by the entrance. Shirts twisted into knots, pants half turned inside out, my work jacket crumpled like trash. My shoes were shoved aside, laces tangled. My first thought was stupidly practical. Did something fall? Then I saw her. My wife was standing a few steps away, arms crossed, jaw clenched, eyes already set to verdict. No tears, no confusion, just cold decision. "You're not sleeping here tonight," she said. "Find somewhere else. Think about how you treat my brother." No build-up, no preamble, just a sentence that cut straight through whatever was left of the illusion that this was my home. A few hours earlier, I was a husband coming back to our place. In that moment, I was demoted to intruder with a suitcase. Behind her, sprawled on the couch, was the reason: Mark. Her brother, late 20s, perfectly healthy, perfectly useless. One arm along the backrest, feet on the coffee table I paid for, half-eaten cereal bowl balanced on the arm of the sofa. He didn't even pretend to move. He just smirked. That smirk told me everything I'd been refusing to admit. He was enjoying this. He wanted me gone. He'd been pushing us to this edge for months. For half a year, he'd lived in my house like it was an all-inclusive resort. Ate our food, used our electricity, left his dishes in the sink, never asked, never offered. No job, no contribution, no plan. Just vague stories about bad luck and the right opportunity. I hadn't screamed at him. I hadn't called him a leech. I'd done what any adult with a mortgage and a spine would eventually do. If you want to live here, you need to contribute, I told him the night before. Money, chores, something. You don't get to live for free indefinitely. It's not fair, that was it. No insults, no threats, just reality. Apparently reality hurt his feelings. Now my clothes were on the floor, and my wife, the woman whose life I'd been financing for years, was looking at me like I was the problem. I stared at her for a long moment. "You're throwing me out of my own house," I said slowly, more to myself than to her. She didn't blink. "You disrespected my brother. You made him feel unwelcome. If you're going to act like that, you can leave until you calm down." Behind her, Mark's little smirk widened. He didn't say it out loud, but I heard it anyway. Checkmate. I looked around. Every bill, every repair, every grocery run was mine. My salary, my overtime, my weekends, the mortgage in my name. And somehow I was the one stepping over a pile of my own clothes on the way out. I picked up a few things mechanically enough for a couple of days. Shirts, underwear, toiletries. No arguments, no shouting. Just quiet movements that made her angry precisely because I wasn't giving her a scene. "I'm leaving," I said, voice low. "But this isn't over." She rolled her eyes. "Think about how you treat my family." I glanced at Mark. He still hadn't moved, still hadn't said a word. Just sat there in my living room, in my house, watching me get pushed out of the life I'd built. I walked out, closed the door gently behind me, and carried my pile of clothes to the car. The motel that night was cheap, ugly, and smelled faintly of damp and cleaning chemicals. The ceiling was cracked, the mattress too soft, the TV older than half my coworkers. I lay there fully clothed, staring up at the stains in the plaster while her sentence replayed in my head on a loop. "Think about how you treat my brother." So I thought about it. I thought about every month I'd paid the mortgage while he contributed nothing. Every time I'd come home to find him exactly where I'd left him. On the couch, eating food I bought, using electricity I paid for. Every time I'd bitten my tongue for the sake of peace.by. The time a grey light crept through the thin curtains, something in me had shifted. If she wanted me out so badly, then fine, she could have exactly what she asked for. Life without me, not the emotional version she'd fantasized about where I was still paying for everything from a distance and begging to come back. The real version. The one where my absence wasn't just a free night for her brother, but a missing foundation under everything they took for granted. The next morning, I packed my bag properly, checked out of the motel, and drove back to the house. Not to argue, to confirm exactly what I was dealing with and decide how hard reality was going to hit when I stepped away for real. When I got back to the house, the first thing I noticed was how normal everything looked from the outside. Freshly cut lawn. The same flower pots by the porch, the same curtains in the window. From the street, it still looked like home. Inside, it was a different story. My wife was in the kitchen making coffee like nothing had happened. The smell filled the air, warm and familiar, and for a moment I almost expected her to turn, smile, and ask how I'd slept. Instead, she didn't even look at me. Mark was still on the couch, wearing the same clothes as yesterday, cereal bowl balanced on the armrest again. The sheer laziness of it was insulting. His presence felt heavier than the furniture itself. Neither of them spoke. It was like walking into a play I wasn't cast in anymore. I set my bag down quietly by the door. "We need to talk," I said. My wife didn't even turn around. "About what?" "You left. That was your decision, my decision." I almost laughed. She'd thrown my clothes into the hallway like garbage, but somehow I was the one who left. "I'm not here to argue," I said, forcing calm into my voice. "I just want to make sure we understand each other. This house," gestured around, "exists because I work. Because I pay for it. I've never asked for much. But your brother," that's when Mark decided to chime in. "Respect," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "You think money buys you respect, man? You can't put a price on family." I turned fully to face him. Family helps each other. Family doesn't take advantage. He leaned back, spreading his arms, that grin carved into his face like he'd practiced it in a mirror. "Maybe you should move out if you don't like it here. We're happy, right?" He glanced toward my wife, fishing for support. She hesitated only long enough to confirm where her loyalty lay. "Mark's right," she said. "He's my brother, Daniel. He's been through a lot. He needs a place to stay, and I'm not going to throw him out or make him pay rent like a stranger." Her tone was hard, her eyes colder than I'd ever seen them. I'd spent years with this woman, and I'd never realized how quickly affection could calcify into contempt. I took a deep breath. "This isn't about rent," I said quietly. "It's about responsibility. If he can't help financially, then he can at least clean up after himself. Do something. Anything. I am not supporting a grown man who contributes nothing." That was the point where I saw it click in both their eyes. This wasn't just an argument about chores or fairness. It was about control. They thought they'd already taken it from me. Mark grinned wider. "Then maybe you should be the one to go, man. We don't need your negativity." And there it was the moment I realized what game they thought they were playing. They thought I'd either explode and storm out for good, or stay quiet and swallow the humiliation. I didn't do either. Instead, I nodded slowly, forcing a calm that felt almost unnatural. "Maybe you're right," I said evenly. "Maybe I do need to think things over." I picked up my bag. My wife crossed her arms tighter. "Good. Maybe you'll come to your senses." I smiled faintly, though my chest burned. "Oh, I will." Then I walked out, not defeated, not broken, just cold and clear-headed. I didn't go to another motel this time. I didn't need to hide. I needed space to plan. I drove for hours without turning on the radio, just letting the sound of the engine steady my thoughts. Every mile I put between myself and that house made my resolve sharpen. This wasn't just a marriage crisis, it was a takeover. They wanted me to disappear so they could live comfortably off the work I'd already done. Fine. Let's see how comfortable life stayed when the man funding it vanished properly. I pulled into a quiet park and sat on a bench, watching people pass. Parents pushing strollers, joggers with headphones, couples walking dogs. They all looked so ordinary, so unbothered, like the world wasn't full of parasites disguised as family. I thought about the years I'd poured into that house, the late nights, the double shifts, every dollar that went into making it a home. And now, a freeloader who'd contributed nothing had the audacity to tell me to leave. I opened my phone and scrolled through old photos. Vacations, birthdays, dinners. Every one of them told the same story. Me working, paying, providing, and Mark always in the background, always there. That realization hit like a punch to the ribs. He hadn't just shown up recently. He'd been woven into the fabric of our marriage for years, a parasite slowly tightening its grip while I smiled for the camera. I closed the photos and opened my banking app. My name was on everything: mortgage, utilities, car payments, insurance. Her name was secondary at best. If they wanted to live without me, then they could truly live without me. Let them see how. For family gets them when the electricity bill comes due and the bank doesn't accept brotherly love as payment. For the first time in months, I felt calm. Not angry, just focused. They thought they'd won. I hadn't even started playing yet. I rented a small, half-furnished apartment across town. Nothing special, peeling paint, weak plumbing, furniture that looked like it had survived a flood. But it had one thing that mattered: silence. No Mark, no arguing, no tension waiting behind every door. Each night after work, I sat at the rickety kitchen table with my laptop and started dissecting our life piece by piece. Accounts, bills, mortgage, utilities. Every single thing that kept that house functioning had my name on it. My salary flowed through the joint account. She just had permission to use it. I began closing the channels one by one. First, I stopped the automatic transfer to the joint account. Then I cancelled the grocery card that she used for house expenses. It took 2 clicks. I redirected my salary to my private savings account, the one she didn't know existed. The one I had quietly opened years ago for emergencies. And if this wasn't an emergency, nothing was. I thought about the look on her face when I'd left, that absolute confidence that I'd come crawling back. That smug calm that comes from knowing the bills were still paid and the fridge was still full. I smiled as I hit confirm. Let's see how long that confidence lasts. The next few days, I went to work like nothing had happened. No one at the office had a clue that I was conducting a quiet war. I answered emails, drank bad coffee, laughed at small jokes, all while knowing that, somewhere across town, the first cracks were forming in their little illusion of independence. A week passed before the silence broke. It was a text from my wife. Mortgage payment declined. What's going on? I stared at the message, imagining her standing there in the kitchen, card in hand, Mark hovering behind her pretending to be calm while panic started to creep in. I waited half an hour before answering. The account needed a break. She called instantly. Daniel, what are you doing? The mortgage bounced. The grocery card doesn't work. Are you trying to ruin us? Us, I said. You mean the house I'm not allowed to sleep in because your brother's feelings got hurt? That's not fair, she snapped. You're acting childish. Maybe, I said evenly. Or maybe I'm just acting like someone who finally took your advice and left. There was a pause, the sound of her breathing hard. Then muffled voices in the background. Mark. I could almost hear his tone. He'll come back. Just wait. You can't just stop paying, she said finally, her voice tightening. This is our home, I repeated, slow and deliberate. That's interesting. Last time I checked, I wasn't welcome in it. She went quiet. I let the silence hang, then ended the call without another word. That night, I opened a beer, sat in the dark kitchen, and listened to the hum of the refrigerator. For the first time in months, that hum didn't irritate me. It was the sound of peace, the sound of a man no longer paying to be disrespected. Over the next week, the calls multiplied. Missed payments, late fees, utility warnings. She went from furious to desperate in record time. You expect me to cover everything alone? Mark's trying to find work, but it's hard. Why are you doing this to us? I didn't respond to most of them. The truth didn't need words anymore. It was arriving in the mail every day in the form of unpaid bills. At work, I met with a lawyer, a calm, deliberate man named David. He asked a few precise questions and took notes as I laid out the situation. When I finished, he smiled faintly. You're fine, Daniel. Everything's in your name. Legally, you're the homeowner. If she wants to live there, she needs your permission. If she wants to claim separation, she'll have to explain to a judge why she threw you out. Don't rush. Let them sweat. That last line stuck with me. Let them sweat. I didn't need to scream, beg, or threaten. Reality was doing it for me. By at the end of the 3rd week, her messages had changed tone. The anger was gone. The confidence was gone. All that was left was panic. The power companies threatening to shut us off. Please, can we talk? Mark's trying, but it's too much. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered my clothes on the floor. Mark's smirk. Her cold voice telling me to find somewhere else to sleep. Pity evaporated. I wasn't done yet. This was just the beginning. By the 3rd week, her calls had become routine, one every evening. Usually around the same time the collection notices probably hit the mailbox. The tone shifted from rage to pleading, from pride to panic. At first, she still blamed me. You're punishing me for helping my brother. Then the truth started leaking through. The lights are out again. The internet got cut. Mark says he'll get a job soon, but she always trailed off before finishing that sentence. Like she could hear how ridiculous it sounded. I didn't reply. Silence had become my best ally. Every time I ignored a message, it did the work for me. Every minute I didn't show up, reality reminded her exactly who kept that roof standing. Then, one night, she left a voicemail that made me play it twice. Her voice was cracked, tired. I can't do this anymore, Daniel. I can't pay for everything. He doesn't help. I thought you'd come back by now. Please, just talk to me. It was strange. The same mouth that told me to find somewhere else was now asking me to return. But I didn't rush. I wanted her to live in the world she'd chosen for a little longer. Still, curiosity has a way of crawling back no matter how much self-control you pretend to have. A few nights later, I drove by the house, parked across the street, lights flickering weakly through the blinds. I could see Mark's silhouette slouched on the couch, controller in hand, same posture as the day I left. My wife was pacing, phone in her hand, talking fast, waving one arm like she was trying to swat away panic. She wasn't winning that argument. Even from a distance, I could tell. He barely looked up from the screen. That's when I knew the shift had started. 3 days later, I got a text. We need to meet. Just us. Please. I agreed. We met in a diner at the edge of town. The kind that still smells like burnt coffee and old pancakes no matter what time it is. She was already there when I arrived. Her hair was unwashed, makeup half done, dark circles under her eyes. For once, she didn't look like someone confident she held all the cards. This can't go on, she said before I even sat down. I can't keep paying for everything. You know I can't. I stirred my coffee slowly. So now, you understand what I was saying. One person can't carry it all. Her lips tightened. I overreacted, okay? I just wanted to protect him. I nodded. By throwing me out, she flinched, looked down at her cup. I made a mistake. I leaned forward, voice steady. No, you made a choice. And now you're seeing what that choice costs. She didn't argue. Didn't even try. For a long time, she just stared at the napkin dispenser, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. Finally, she said, I don't want to lose you. The words sounded genuine, but there was something else under them. Exhaustion, not love. Like she wanted the life I provided, not the man who built it. I finished my coffee, stood up. If you want a marriage, you can't have a roommate who eats for free and insults your husband. Figure out what matters to you. As I walked out, I saw her reflection in the diner window, frozen, lost. She wanted me back, but not enough to do what it required, and that was fine. Because I wasn't coming back until she understood what alone actually felt like. The following week, I kept my distance. No calls, no visits, no rescue. Then one evening, I came home to my apartment, and she was standing there at the door. Hair disheveled, eyes red, clothes wrinkled. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Please, she said quietly. We can't go on like this. The bills, the food, the stress, it's all falling apart. Mark's still looking for work, but she stopped mid-sentence. Like even she didn't believe it anymore. I stepped aside so she could come in, but my voice stayed hard. So, what are you asking? For me to come back and fix everything while he stays? Her hands twisted in her lap. He's my brother. I can't just throw him out. I crossed my arms. Then don't. But understand this, you can't have both. If you want me back, he's gone. No more freeloaders, no more disrespect. You can't rebuild a house while keeping the rot inside. She looked at the floor, silent. Tears starting to form. I need time, she whispered. Take all you need, I said, opening the door for her. But understand this, every day I'm gone. You're learning what life without me really costs. She hesitated, then stepped out. When the door closed, the apartment fell silent again. I leaned against the wall, feeling the quiet settle over me like armor. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't vengeful. I was just done. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's absence. The next few days stretched long and quiet. She texted less often, shorter messages, less certainty in every line. The tone had changed from anger to fatigue, from denial to slow acceptance. And then, early one morning, she called. Her voice was soft, barely holding together. I told Mark to leave. I didn't answer immediately. She filled the silence. He screamed at me, called me selfish, said you'd ruined everything. But I told him I can't keep destroying our marriage for him. Her words hung between us for a long time. When I finally spoke, my voice came out louder than I expected. So you made your choice. Yes, she whispered. If you still have me, I thought about that. About the day I'd walked through the door and found my clothes dumped on the floor. About Mark's smirk. About the laughter I'd overheard when they thought I was gone for good. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a door that only opens when you stop pretending the damage never happened. We'll see, I said finally, and hung up. When I stepped back into the house that evening, everything felt heavier and emptier at once. Mark's shoes were gone. His trash, his clutter, all of it gone. The air didn't smell like stale cereal and laziness anymore. It smelled like quiet. My wife was sitting at the kitchen table, the same one where she defended him with fire in her voice weeks earlier. This time she just looked up, eyes red, shoulders slumped. He's gone, she said simply. I set my keys down on the counter. And us? She took a hesitant step closer. I want to fix this. I was wrong. I see that now. I studied her face. No anger left. No confidence. No manipulation, just exhaustion and guilt. I'm not sure I can forget, I said slowly, but I can try. On one condition. She nodded immediately. Anything. No more secrets. No more choosing him or anyone else over us. If we're rebuilding, it has to be together. All in or not at all. Tears welled up in her eyes. I understand. I promise. I believed her sincerity. But sincerity doesn't erase betrayal. It just begins the long process of paying for it. That night, we sat across from each other at that table. The silence thick but cleaner than before. No shouting, no smugness, no laughter at my expense. Just the quiet hum of two people realizing what nearly collapsed between them. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. My revenge had already happened quietly, methodically, without a single raised voice. For weeks, I'd been gone. She'd lived without me, without my income, without my effort. She defended her brother, and reality had shown her what that choice really looked like. Now she understood what my presence meant. What I provided, what I protected. The victory wasn't in watching her cry or beg. It was in seeing the truth finally do the work. I didn't have to. The next morning, I made coffee in silence. She joined me at the counter, careful, uncertain, waiting for permission to breathe normally again. I handed her a cup without looking up. We start over, I said. From zero. No brother. No games. She nodded, eyes wet. From zero, as I sipped my coffee, the house felt balanced again. Not perfect. Not healed. But mine. Sometimes the most brutal revenge isn't fire or rage. It's subtraction. You walk away. Remove yourself completely, and let the weight of your absence teach the lesson your words never could. She threw me out once. Now she understood what that really meant.